Welcome back. Last week, Donald Trump caused an enormous uproar across the nation with an executive order banning immigrants from 7 Muslim countries. Ron, do you think the president can justify an action like this?
I think the president can justify any action that he wants to, and he's proven that he can do that. It's whether or not the action's right or whether it isn't right.
All right, so let me ask you this first. Do you think it'll make us safer?
I think he's trying to make us safer, but in the long run, he's going to cost us. He's going to infuriate the world that'll be at us a little tougher, but I think he will learn to roll things out in a different way. I think he rolled it out way too fast.
Well, and I think
it was a poor rollout,
yes,
frankly.
And there's a couple more issues, and I think you're bringing up a good point that I'll get to in a second, Jim, as well. First of all, it's a good thing we stopped, we blocked people coming in from the countries where the 9/11 terrorists came from. Actually, no, we didn't. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, which is where all the 9/11 hijackers came from, are not on the list of blocked countries.
Right.
So we blocked the low-hanging fruit, but we're not resolving the issue. And this excuse has been bandied around that, hey, this has been done in the past. Obama did this. That was on visas, not on stopping people who already had green cards that are permanent residents of the U.S. and basically interrogating them. And I think the other issue that really occurred during this, and this is something that you alluded to, Jim, is the execution. You had Borders and Customs Control basically shutting out any legal representation. I realize that Borders and Customs Control, when people come into the country, have certain jurisdiction.
Right.
But even when you had members of Congress going there, even when you had lawyers, nobody could get any answer. And when the federal judges issued a stay, they didn't listen. That causes a constitutional crisis. When the legislative branch, or the judicial branch issues an order for the executive branch not to do something, they have to stop. That's the way it's supposed to work until it gets figured out in courts. And that's, I think, the most problematic. I understand, I think that it is well-intentioned. The execution, however, was very poor, and it set some very bad precedents, I think.
So I can't speak to the precedents. I do think it was very poorly executed. I think that this is part of his showmanship. I think this is, he wants to get a lot done very quickly, right, or at least the perception that he's getting a lot done.
Hugely.
And I think, bigly.
Bigly.
I think he wants, in my mind, I take that as a sign to the rest of the world that there's a new sheriff in town, and we're gonna do things differently.
Fair.
So, how will it be perceived in other nations? I don't know. I think that answer is beyond the wisdom of Solomon, much less me.
But to make a point, and I'm sorry, Ken, I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine.
To make a point, we have 200 and some odd years of decor, of precedent, and of general guidelines around how you approach things. This is not third grade. It's signaling that there's a new sheriff in town doesn't mean walking around poking everybody with a stick. And I think that's where the execution was very poorly done. And look, we have a constitution, we have the processes that are in place. I don't care who's president, those come before the person in office. The minute you get somebody in office and they start circumventing the Constitution or doing things that are unconstitutional, it's the duty of everybody in the country to stand up to them and go through the process.
Haven't we had that? Haven't we seen people all over the world do that? Let me ask you a question, Colin. You're pretty astute of history and of government. Is the Attorney General of the United States the President's personal attorney?
No. It is they are the people's attorney. And I think that's another very bad precedent that we set when the Attorney General or the acting AG, because the current or the upcoming AG had not been confirmed as yet, stood up and said that the president's actions were not constitutional, and she did not feel that the Justice Department should defend him. She was summarily fired.
That's a tremendously bad precedent to set.
Yes. And let's
and the American people sitting back applauding him for doing
some of
the
the American
some of the American people.
Well, I was figuring out the other day, 75 million people did not vote for Donald Trump's plans for what he wants to do. He's going out and saying 62,500,000 people of the American people voted for me. Well, 75 million people didn't vote for him.
Well, and not including the people who didn't show up to vote because they were not in Senate. If there was a
And
none
not
of the
including
above,
3 million illegals.
right? Well,
So he doesn't really speak for the American people. He's speaking for his particular followers.
Does any particular president speak for even the majority of the American people, given the fact of the number of people in our country that vote, the number of people in our country that are informed about politics? Does any president, I mean, Obama,
on any single
Bush.
issue, that's difficult to say. But what you can look is at the approval ratings. Yeah. And Trump came into office with a 40% approval rating. That's the lowest of any president in modern history.
So my personal opinion is, I think, from my personal perspective, I don't like some of the things he's done. I don't like some of the things he did when he was on the campaign trail. Here's why I'm going to give him a chance. Because guess what? Nothing else has worked. You look back at Obama, and there are many things about what he did I didn't like.
Give me one thing that you don't like. One thing that you don't like.
Back up. You look at George W. Bush, there are many things that he did that I didn't like. Frankly, Clinton was probably, Mr. Clinton was probably the best, in my opinion, that we've had in recent history.
He was trying to get screwed in the White House instead of trying to screw everybody else.
Well, so in all fairness, and look, we have to back up. Using the excuse of doing something that works, if that something that works is unconstitutional, that ain't going to fly.
No, I understand that, but I trust that. I trust that if we get into a real constitutional crisis, that there will be a major uprising.
Well, and hopefully that's the case.
Let's reel this back in a little bit. Let's reel this back in a little bit. All right. So
why we like our tangents?
I love our tangent on this, but we're talking about the Muslim country immigration and travel ban. Now, Obama issued a similar order in 2011, just affecting Iraq, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
But was that affecting any travel from Iraq, including green card holders?
That I can't answer. I was hoping someone here might know. Okay. All right. So that is a little bit different. So I've seen a lot of comparison between the two on that. I've also seen a lot of people saying, okay, so why aren't we banning travel from Saudi Arabia? All right, which from what I heard, apparently Trump has made a statement now that that's coming. But
he's got hotels there.
Well,
come on,
he's not in Yemen, Iraq,
fair point. However,
Iran.
All right, correct me if I'm wrong on this. The executive order that Trump signed did not specifically call out any of those countries. It merely referred to legislation which was passed by the Obama administration on a list of countries that were deemed
Yes, the countries
risky.
were there during the Obama administration. However, the actions were defined by the current administration. Now, the other piece, which I think is critical in this entire discussion, is the fact that the countries, we identify these countries completely arbitrarily. And again, in the past, there are visa bans, there are other things that were in place. Incidentally, not a single attack on U.S. soil has been carried out by somebody from any of these countries.
Now, I disagree with you on that because U.S. embassies are considered U.S. soil.
Okay.
Therefore,
so you're talking about
U.S. soil in a foreign country, but not domestic soil.
Correct.
What
Not
she's talking
domestic
about
soil,
domestic.
but it's still U.S. soil.
Right.
Okay, so in all fairness, that is a fair point. Now, the other piece is, we have this illusion that somehow this is, first of all, and there's a lot of discussion about this, we're talking about the fact that there is no vetting. And what my challenge to these people is like, well, we're just letting anybody come in and get a visa to come in. No, that's not true. The refugee process has so much vetting already in it. Not a single person that was involved in this came here on a refugee visa. And, honestly, in this country, there have been more terrorist attacks carried out by white supremacists than any other group in existence.
Well, you bring up vetting. When do we vet the president and see his taxes to see what he has allegiance to the different countries in the world that he's already dealing with?
We don't need to do that. They're fine.
Oh, they're fine? And everybody's going to swallow that?
So far,
You're going to swallow that, Jim?
I'm okay with that.
You don't? You think that he can have interest
Wow.
anywhere in the
I-
world?
I honestly-
Oh my
I
gosh.
tried, but I puked it up.
Oh my
I
gosh.
honestly don't. The interest that he has is different than his tax returns. The interest that he has.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it
It's going to
is.
show where his income's coming from. It's going
Okay.
to see who he owes. He's going to show what foreign countries he owes.
And you know what, Ron? We're going to give you the last word on that. But next up on the flip side, our panel weighs in on Mike Pence and his vocal stance against abortion. Stay tuned.